What's up, guys? Welcome to the weekend edition of Rawstocks. I'm Rustic, and today we're going to take a look at Tesla's chart. We're going to look at where price came from on Friday and over last week, where price is closing on Friday, and where price is likely to head going into next week. Okay, so when we were talking last week, we were looking at this channel, right? This bullish channel. We also had a little different trend line, but we saw a breakout of it. Okay, and we were looking at where the potential high low of Friday was going to be, and we were looking at where the pivot point was going to be, and trying to anticipate what that move was going to look like. So we do see that price came down on the daily chart and tested this bull channel. Right, it respected the fair value gap that was laid on Thursday last week. Okay, it traded down, not quite all the way to the bottom with the wick, but it did trade down into it. Right, ultimately traded outside of it. If we look back to this fair value gap here, right, from this wick to this wick, we saw a lot of activity for 6 days after that fair value gap was laid before price decided to run up off of it. So we're only 1 day into this fair value gap on the daily chart being laid. We've already run down into it. Could we see it come back down into it, test it some more? Yes. We also have this bull channel that we want price to continue to respect. We don't want price to start to break down out of this bull channel and trade sideways. It's going to invalidate this channel. It could form a different channel. We could adjust the trend lines at that point, but we will go ahead and see as price develops next week. But we do want, however, for at least this fair value gap to continue to be respected if price is going to eventually go higher. If we start seeing candles closing below 250, okay, daily candles closing below 250, then we can anticipate we're going to come back down and target some of this sell side liquidity that rests down below. Okay, so we got this channel. Let's go ahead and look at our potential ranges for Monday. Okay, so if we just take this candle here and we move the cursor one out, we have our daily range. Okay, I set these open and open range low and high on the hourly. So let's go ahead and drop down so you can see that just a little bit better. Actually, I might have set it. It'd be fine on the hourly. I think I set it on the 15-minute chart as well. But if we look at it, we can see that first hour, potentially even first 15 minutes. If we were to gap down similar to what we saw on Friday, right, that opening range low, we'd be looking at 253.15. And that would be a test on the bullish, trend line of support. Okay, so we could see price come down, test this within that first hour. We have our bull bear pivot up here at 260. 260.88, I believe it is. Yes, 260.88. And then we have our open high range, which would be a test on resistance at 268.52. Okay, so those could be our open high-low ranges, as well as a bull bear pivot point. And I do have marked off buy side liquidity that sits at 263.70. So if we were to head higher from where we are, whether we opened low or opened high, okay, if we opened gap up over buy side liquidity, we're not targeting that necessarily anymore. It will be off of our radar. It will be candles above the high of this wick. So it's not really of importance anymore if we just straight up open up, gap up $3. Okay, not necessarily anticipating that. So if we open flat or we open gap down, right, I do look for buy side liquidity to be taken. That could be early on and then have a sell-off, or it could be that we head lower, testing the support level again, right, and then we head higher to try to take that liquidity. We tried on this little move here. We could not set a new high. We also came down here and tested the support, and we did not even get back up to this high, let alone this high. So we are seeing some overall, just a little bit of weakness as far as like the bulls are not able to get back up to test this high, but are they just buying time? There are potentially orders that sat there, market did not want to push up into that point quite yet. Does it mean it's off the table? Absolutely not. We could head up there, potentially see a sell-off from that point, or just straight up take it, and head up to test the resistance trend of the bull channel again, right? Because we've tested here, we ran up to resistance, came back down and tested. Do we continue to run up to resistance, right? Kind of probably likely, because if you watch how it just unfolds, you start down here, we set our first point, right? The wick goes over, we come back down, that gives us our channel with this point here and this point here. So we can, look at this point here, and now we have this information of this point here as well. So we have 2 touching points on resistance, we have 3 touching points now on support. Okay, so does it continue to hold? That's what we're really watching. If price comes down, starts closing candles below the support level, we're looking for it to take out sell side liquidity and head lower. If price continues to cross over this bull bear pivot, cross over the median of the channel, right, we're looking for a run to buy side liquidity, and we're looking for a run to test the channel resistance again. Okay. At this point, because of the way the channel is, we're either looking to enter long positions on the retests of support, okay, and then we're targeting above targets. Over here we have a 1 hour fair value gap that we could extend across. Okay, we have the resistance line, we have the buy side liquidity. So if we're coming down, we're testing support, right? We're looking to go long. We can use this support line as an exit strategy too. So if we go long on the retest and then price starts closing below, we can exit those positions, right? And so we don't want to get trapped, and we don't want to ride positions for too long. And so we'll use that trend line as a really good indicator. And so far it has held up since Wednesday, September 27th, but we didn't get our second point till October 3rd. Okay, so since October 3rd, it has respected this trend line by testing resistance, testing support, looking for it to either test resistance or roll back over to support, and then give another bounce up. Again, targeting probably this fair value gap. There is buy side liquidity above that at 273. And the fair value gap consequent encroachment comes in at 268. So I'd be looking for minimum for 268, which also happens to be our open high-low range, open high range tomorrow. And so we'll just see what happens tomorrow. Let's go ahead and drop into a lower chart. Again, you can see on the 15-minute chart, that is for sure where I anchored my original open low and open high range. Okay, to this first 15-minute candle. Right there, high right here, bull bear pivot right in the middle, or the 50% level, which also happens to be kind of in line, with the median of the channel. Okay, so when we open, are we going to come back down, right? Target sell side liquidity, right? Open down, trade down to the support level. If the support level gives up, we're targeting sell side liquidity. Below sell side liquidity, we're targeting this order block. Okay, at that point, we would have seen a breakdown of this bullish channel. That would give us a different read. Okay, if we come back down and we test this, we don't close it because we do have a 15-minute fair value gap here. Could we come down, trade into the 15-minute fair value gap, right? Head back higher. That's definitely a possibility. Would like to see this fair value gap stay open if you're bullish, right? But we could. And it could, instead of aggressively doing that, could hit it way over here where we're still respecting support. Where it just kind of like rolls over, or we get a little chop, and then it comes over here, tests the fair value gap, tests the support level, head back higher to take that buy side liquidity. Right, on the bull bear pivot, if we head lower first, again, you can use your trend line of support to take your entries. If you're taking an entry down on the support, you're targeting the buy side liquidity. That's at this swing high, this swing high, this swing high, right? And so we're targeting those. If we were to enter here on the support and start to head higher, you can exit in the liquidity. You can also look for price to run up to the resistance line before you exit a position. And so we're really watching that trend develop and making sure that price respects that. Okay, as we drop down into the 5-minute chart before the weekend happens, other things we're watching for is we had a 5-minute order block that we never quite hit. Price rejected it before we got there. We had an equal candle, basically an equal candle, or maybe call it a tweezer top or something like that. Anyways, almost engulfing, but not quite. But equal candles, and we started to have a little bit of a sell-off. You saw RSI starting to peak. We had a kind of a double top look on the RSI with that green candle. Very next candle, we started having RSI come down. This is near the end of the day. This is the last, these are 5-minute candles, so this is the last half an hour of trading or so. So no surprise that as we started to get to the top, we did see some kind of selling, right? But also up here, when we saw a bullish candle after we started to get a top on the RSI, also that's where the sell-off started. Then we had a nice gap down. So we did start to see that sell-off. Do we see a gap down? Again, on the 5-minute chart, we still have, the possibility that we have this open low range. Right? Do we gap down? Do we trade down just like we did on Friday and try to hit the trend line or hit this opening range and then start to trade up? What we're looking for, similarly on the other charts, we're looking for the support line to hold. Right? And if we do kind of open flat or even gap down, do we look for price to run up into this order block that never got hit, take the buy side liquidity that sits above? So if we run at buy side liquidity before as the first move, then we would be looking for price to potentially start to sell off. If that buy side liquidity gets taken very quickly, okay, we'd be looking for magnetic zones. We'd be looking for the bull bear pivot. We'd be looking for the fair value gap here. We'd be looking for the fair value gap here, right? As price is drawn into previous areas of support because they act as magnets. So we will be watching those. If price starts running and takes out buy side liquidity early in the morning on Monday, then the expected move might be that we head lower. Okay, so be watching out for that. And then as we drop into the 1-minute chart, we just see the price action from Friday. We see there's a lot of 1-minute fair value gaps that never got closed. We also have this change of character that hasn't been balanced yet. We have another fair value gap. And so we have some different things. It looks like we also had to break a structure here that got balanced near the end of the day. So we could possibly see price coming back down to draw into some of these fair value gaps, maybe coming down here to balance this price range from the change of character. And then we still have that trend line of support, right? And on a bigger time frame, we're eventually looking for either a run on sell side or a run on buy side liquidity. Buy side liquidity sits much closer than sell side, so I would anticipate that we take this buy side out first if we want to head lower, right? And if we want to head higher, we might come down and test this order block, or again test that trend line of support, and then eventually come back to take out that liquidity and test the resistance levels much higher up here near the opening range at 268.52 or even higher depending on how long it takes to get there. So eager to watch and see what happens as next week unfolds. This is Sunday, and so the market will be open on Monday, and so I look forward to reading all your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope this has been helpful for an early look on the weekend and areas to target, areas of interest. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks.